Hi, I'm Nikki Lowe and welcome to the Wisdom for Working Mums podcast show, where I share insights and interviews that support women to combine their family, work and life in a more successful and sustainable way. Hi, welcome to this episode. I'm your host, Nikki Lowe, and today I'm sharing something incredibly special with you. Today's episode was recorded in the middle of September when I went to the Scottish Highlands with the most amazing group of women for a charity called CoppaFeel. CoppaFeel are the first UK breast cancer charity to create awareness among young people, and they're on a mission to stamp out the late detection of breast cancer and really ensure that everyone is checking their boobs regularly. They want to educate people on the signs and symptoms of breast cancer, encourage them to get to know what's normal for them, and empower particularly young people to have the confidence to see a doctor if they notice anything that isn't right for them. Myself and a group of 100 women got chosen this year to participate in one of CoppaFeel's Trek challenges. They do every year to raise money and awareness for their incredible charity. And I got chosen earlier this year to participate in the Trek and was selected to join Team Emma. So 100 women were split into 4 groups with celebrity team captains, and our team captain was the amazing Emma Willis. And this episode was recorded on our last day of trekking after a 5-day trek through the Scottish Highlands, navigating some of the most grueling and unrelenting ascents through Scotland's most famous and iconic mountains, also known as Munros. It required us to camp for 6 nights and was the most amazing experience. And this episode was recorded to give you an insight into that experience, into the lives of the women that I met on this challenge that really have changed my life in so many different ways. And I wanted to give you an insight into this because the week we spent in the Scottish Highlands was one of the most life-affirming and life-changing experiences. And I wanted to share that with you. So I won't keep you any longer. Let's dive in.
Everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, where we come from. So we tell them we are Team Emma. We are Team Emma. Mighty, mighty Emma. The mighty, mighty Emma.
So Jen, what are you taking from this week of trekking?
I think I was talking about it actually on the way up. I think what's been amazing is, although we're here to raise awareness and raise funds for CoppaFeel, the main thing I think is seeing what a group of women can achieve when we all support each other.
Yeah.
You see so much nowadays of people criticising people, and on social media everybody's judging everyone.
Yeah.
But actually everybody's just got behind each other.
Yeah.
Pushing ourselves literally up mountains. And I think it's just been so empowering to see what a group of women can do together when they all pull together for the same purpose, you know?
Yeah. Because I've said that to quite a few people, because normally we're set up, I think, in our society to either compare or compete as women. And but when you come together and collaborate, actually, that's...
And I said that it's been like that, sharing stories with people as well, because there's a lot of, I think particularly when you're, when you're diagnosed with something, you do try and find people that are exactly the same as you, so that you can say, right, well, this is what mine is more similar to.
Yeah.
But actually what's been really nice is being able to ask questions, hear about other people's stories, but there hasn't really been that sense of comparison, because you're not doing it for you, you're doing it to actually find out about other people and find out what's motivated them to be here, rather than it being your journey and trying to find information and people that are the same. And I think, you just have to look at our team. Everyone is so different.
Yeah.
The backstories are all so different.
Yeah.
The motivators are so different. Yet we're all just brilliant, aren't we?
Yeah, particularly you, Jen. So people listening to this won't know your story. So would you mind giving a little insight into what brought you here?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with secondary breast cancer in September 2019. So it was secondary straight away, which means it's already spread from the breast. So it already, when they found it, it was in my breast, but it had already spread to my bones, which means they then class it as incurable, but treatable.
Yeah.
So they give you drugs, and the idea is that you get drugs that keep it under control for as long as possible. So that's how I found CoppaFeel, because when I was first diagnosed, I found Chris from CoppaFeel, who obviously is living with secondary breast cancer. And I think initially I found her as like a beacon of hope, really, of what it could look like, because in the outset, one of the scariest things, I think, particularly from someone who's had quite a career focused work life, you know, I've always been quite driven. You're a plan. I'm a solicitor, by trade. So I'd always needed a plan, and I'd always been in control of, you know, what I was going to do, or what promotion I was looking for. One of the main things about diagnosis is everything's completely took out of your control.
Yeah.
And you're just scrabbling around trying to find people to give you hope that you might get some normality back, that this isn't the end.
Yeah.
So that's how I found Chris. And actually I reached out to her, and she does message on Instagram, which is lovely. And I just thought, actually, I saw that Giovanna and Emma were doing it, and I'm big fans, so obviously I had to apply for that. But, you know, I'm lucky in that mine was found, even though it had already spread, it was still found relatively early.
So how did you find yours?
I breastfed my daughter, and just after I finished breastfeeding, my nipple was inverted still, and so I went and got checked.
And as we're talking, we're just walking over a cattle grid, so we go quiet and concentrate so we don't break a leg. Yeah.
I was breastfeeding her, and my boob just didn't really I didn't feel like it went back to normal. So I went to my GP to get checked, and you get told, oh, you're too young, I'm sure it's nothing. I was referred to a breast clinic, I think after I'd gone back about 2 or 3 times, saying, no, it just doesn't feel right. I didn't have necessarily a lump, it was more thickening, an area of thickening round towards the armpit, and then the inverted nipple was the most obvious thing. They checked it, did a sonogram, and said that I had blocked milk ducts, and then I was sent on my way. And then after about 12-18 months, I noted that the nipple was more inverted, so more of it had gone. It was only initially inverted on one side, whereas more of it had gone inverted, and the area of thickening had got bigger. So I had private healthcare with work, so I thought, well, if the insurance company agrees to cover it, why not go and get a second opinion? Went for a second opinion. They told me there and then that it looked like breast cancer, and that a couple of the lymph nodes looked like they were affected too. And I then said, well, you know, the lymph nodes are all over your body. How do I know it's not anywhere else? So I think because I was private, to give me peace of mind, they did a CT and a bone scan. And then, that took about 2 weeks for the results to come back, which is terrible because you don't have a plan. You've just got this thing in your mind and you're waiting to hear what we're going to do about it. But there's so many different types of breast cancer that actually the treatment plan is very complex because it's all geared towards your particular biology of your tumour and your cancer. So they couldn't give me any information or any plan until it came back. And then, so after 2 weeks, they said it already spread to my bones. My bone scan had shown that I had small volume bone metastases to my ribs, my pelvis and my spine. And that it was HER2 positive and hormone positive. So they're the 2 key things that are relevant to them in terms of how they treat it.
Yeah.
So I had chemotherapy, which I finished last February. And then they offered me a mastectomy, which I said, yes, please. And then I had radiotherapy to the chest area. So now I'm on 3 weekly drug infusions of 2 drugs that aim to target my type and stop it from growing, stop it from getting the fuel that it needs to grow.
Yeah.
I have a daily hormone pill to stop it from getting the estrogen it needs to grow.
That's also put you into...
Yes, the menopause, yeah. Like a
Medical menopause.
medical menopause, yeah. And I have a monthly injection which shuts down my ovaries as well. So that's, I'm going through menopause with my mum, which is something
How
we
old are your
can do.
children?
So I've got a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old. A little girl who's 5 and a little boy who's 7. Obviously, when they were diagnosed, they were 5 and 2. And so obviously the first thing that starts going through your mind is how old are they going to be? You know, when they drew a bell graph, which I didn't ask for, but I was given a bell graph telling me that I was probably looking at 4 years. So you just immediately think, well, that's my son won't even be out of primary school, you know? Which is the hardest thing. Like, it really is the guilt that you can see from the effect of your illness on your family members, like my sisters. You know, there's always been 3 of us, my mum and my dad and my children and my husband. Like, nobody prepares you to deal with that mental side of it. They get you ready for chemo, hand you a load of leaflets with all the side effects in. Nobody gives you any kind of guidance on how to mentally prepare for that side of
The
things.
emotional, psychological journey.
Yeah.
I cannot even begin to imagine.
It's a roller coaster.
But as I said to you just before I hit record, Jen, you have been the motivator for me on this whole week. Like, you got me up
Oh, thank
a
you.
big, I was going to say, F-off mountain yesterday. And it was your energy, positivity, enthusiasm, and just joy of life that got me up there yesterday.
Yeah.
And I just think you're bloody incredible. And I have no doubt that you're going to defy the odds that, like, could be in front of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I said to my husband, I'm not going to, if they're right, statistics are old, they don't take into account you as an actual person.
Yeah.
You know, there's a pool of people that are all different ages, they've all got different underlying health conditions, they all present at a different time in their illness. So I very much try and avoid the statistics.
Yeah. And you're also controlling the controllables. You've changed so much in your life to give yourself a better opportunity.
Yeah. Well, I said to my husband, you know, I don't want, if I have got 4 years, I don't want my kids to remember me as someone that was depressed, quiet, you know, not me at all. I want them to remember me as someone that lived life, enjoyed it, wanted to do something, so did it. Because I don't want them to, their memories to me, I want them to be of me as a person, not of me going through that disease. Yeah. But so that, as soon as I was diagnosed, I started to research what I could do to help myself and help my body and my mind get through it. So I had counselling to deal with the trauma of the diagnosis, and to show me the power that the mind can have on the body as well. Yeah, I changed my diet so that I was cutting out sugar, refined carbs, ultra-processed foods, essentially. So did a lot of work looking into like the gut microbiome and what foods we need to make the gut strong and therefore the immune system strong. Yeah. And I do exercise, try and do lots of exercise. Because there's my oncologist is a professor and he specialises in exercise during treatment. So he's a real...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he really thinks that exercise can make a difference to treatment.
You think I'm just going to walk up a mountain for a week and...
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that.
Well, part of that was just being brave because I haven't... You know, I get scans every 3 months to see if the drugs are still working. And part of that is... Because of that, I don't really live past 3 months. Yeah. So when I applied for this, it was partly me trying to say to myself, you know, be positive, like plan ahead, because I didn't really like to plan things for the future. And when I applied for this, you know, it's 2 scans away from when I was applying, where I was. Who knows what state my body had been in by then. But It's got me up some big mountains.
It bloody has.
Force of nature.
She is, isn't she, Di? Well, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
So I'm just here with G. We're on our last walk of day 5, and I'm really curious, G. What are you taking from this week?
I think I'm taking away the fact that it's so important that we stop. And I think it's something that I relearn every time I come on one of these treks. We're all so busy and we're all so accessible all the time. People can get to us with emails and phone calls, and there's always so many demands, whether that's from our kids, from our family, whatever it is, work. And the beauty, I think, of coming along on these treks is that you can only deal with the here and now.
Yeah.
And that's a huge life lesson, is to just, as much as possible, try and deal with the here and now. Because we all just get so busy otherwise. And it becomes hard to focus and the world gets foggy. But there's some sort of clarity, I think, that just comes with walking.
Yeah. And I imagine that I imagine you never quite get used to it, but having done the treks you've done now, hearing the stories that you hear on the treks really reminds you how important it is to be in the here and now.
Every single time. I've got to say, I feel so honoured every time we're on a trek that everyone's come along, that everyone wants to talk, everyone wants to raise awareness because of the stories that they've experienced and the things that they've been through. And so in terms of CoppaFeel, everyone's walking now.
Yeah,
so that's what the class is
you
going
can hear
on.
the background
It's not a
noise.
quiet group. But yeah, it is. And I don't know whether
We can walk and talk.
we can walk and talk. But I don't know whether it's because it's a UK one, because this is the first time where we've even heard about the fact that when we go abroad, actually even things like insurance, people who have been through treatment, their insurance is a lot more. That's something I've never even thought about before.
Yeah.
But there definitely was a feeling this time around, going through the applications, how a lot more women who have been through breast cancer, who have had that experience, have applied.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's because there are more people being diagnosed. I don't know whether it's because we're in the UK and therefore the trek seems a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
But it just, you start walking and talking with someone, you've got no idea why they're here. And, and it's that thing, isn't it? Sometimes it is breast cancer. Sometimes it's a mental health situation they're going through. One girl in another group is going, she has Crohn's and she didn't leave the house for 3 years. And you just think, now here you are climbing up a mountain. Where you've been indoors for that time. And so everyone is going through something, whether it's a breast cancer story or another part of their life. And I just feel so honoured that people have decided to, spend the week here with us. And I think they're healing for many, many reasons. They build, that confidence that so many of us are lacking again for whatever reason. And because I think life just knocks you every now and then. It just knocks you a little bit. And so something about these just kind of, build you back up again.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, from me, but also from everybody that I've spoken to, you being involved with CoppaFeel, what you've done in terms of raising awareness, getting people to check regularly is phenomenal. And I don't suppose you'll ever know the impact that you will have had being associated with this charity because of that.
I find it quite overwhelming, actually, when we go on treks and people say they've caught their cancer because of they've seen a trek or they've seen a post and they've checked. And so to have something that every year you have over 100 people banging that drum.
Yeah.
And then it's for a long period of time, people for months are posting those signs and symptoms.
Yeah.
And, when we go in the treks and, and that never leaves me, that those women who have had their diagnosis and been caught early because of what we do.
Yeah.
And then they go on and, one amazing woman, Kaylee, is now given birth to her second son. And you're just like, the alternative of that isn't worth thinking about. And, but then I guess you come on this track and you're like, some people have said that they hadn't heard of CoppaFeel until this year.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep pushing.
Yes.
Let's keep pushing. Let's make it bigger. let's do more treks. I'm just super grateful that everyone comes along and supports in the way they do. And I know that for people that support but they can't give financially, it's that's a part of it.
Yeah.
It's sharing a post if those symptoms are out there. It's just checking yourself, regularly. It's getting on board with the CoppaFeel message. It's making sure that boob things aren't a taboo subject, or your whole body. It's getting to know your whole body so that if something changes, and you can be, you've got to be your own advocate, haven't you? You're the best.
Well, that message has come across loud and clear for me. If there was like a big thing that I'm taking away from this, is obviously being around these amazing women and hearing their amazing stories. But each one of them have talked about, actually, if they hadn't have pushed, their diagnosis would have been very different.
Yeah.
And CoppaFeel and the work that you and the whole charity do has been kind of instrumental in that.
Yeah.
And that's a big wake-up call for me, is that actually you've got to know your body, but you've also got to empower yourself to assert yourself if things don't feel right.
Yeah. And sadly, we've had too many times in this trek of people being told they're too young.
Yes. Or it's milked up because you're breastfeeding, or
and women's bodies change when they're if you're trying to get pregnant, as you get pregnant, after you've had a baby. So there's all these changes going on, and it's so hard to keep tabs on what's going on,
Yeah.
And then to know, and if you've got a professional saying, so you almost you're being told what you want to hear.
Yeah. So it's easy to dismiss it then.
Yeah. So hearing that so many women have had to go back and go, oh, I'm not that happy, and then go back for a third time, sometimes a fourth time before they're heard.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's also amazing we've got so many brilliant doctors on this trek this time as well, trekking doctors and health professionals who also want to get involved in this side of it and then spread that
hearing
message.
the storages.
Yes.
Yeah, they're hearing those.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for everything you do, Jo.
Oh, thank you.
And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be on this trek, so thank you.
Thank you.
Dom, what is it that you're taking away from this week on the CoppaFeel trek?
Numerous things. One, that I'm stronger than I believe I am.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but mentally.
And how does that differ? Because obviously you've gone through your cancer journey, so you will have already had an experience that you can overcome hard things. In what way is this different?
So my brain tumour was more, I had no choice but to get up and carry on. So it was, I felt like it was a dream, because I just had to get out of hospital, get back to my baby and get on with my life and build myself stronger that way. Whereas this is sort of, I've physically built up my strength. I've mentally prepared myself for being away from my kids again, even though it brings back horrible memories of being away from them. And just it's just a magical life experience. Like, I'm never going to forget this.
You do know you're going to be in intensive care.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, just.
And what do you want to remember it for? So obviously that you can do more than you...
That I could do more than I believe. That I've raised fantastic awareness. That my friend went and got her boob checked out and it was nothing. But she wouldn't have done if I wasn't doing this.
Yeah.
So, a lot of things, really. So, meeting so many fabulous women. You just... I don't think you believe the inspiring stories till you put the face to those stories and you think, wow, you're just incredible. Like, and even the ones that haven't had cancer but have been through some rubbish life like situations, and it all adds up, and the mental load of everything adding up on top of your shoulders is draining. It really is.
Thank you, Dom.
That's okay.
Hi, I'm Bex. The one thing I would take from my CoppaFeel trek experience would be, don't sweat the small stuff. Or rather, that should be, try not to sweat the small stuff. When I came back, that was my motto, not to sweat the small stuff. But of course, that's a lot easier said than done. It was also my motto when I lost my mum in 2018, because it was such a life-changing event. and you start to realise that you get wound up in the day-to-day worries and stresses that, you know, really in the grand scheme of things aren't important. But I'd lost sight of that a little bit, and then going on the trek really re-emphasised that to me. So my motto, try not to sweat the small stuff. I've managed to pop into my life insofar as I try to just take the week as it comes and don't expect that there won't be stress and busyness. But I do try at the weekend now to carve out a lot more time to just appreciate what's in the here and now. I lost my mum in 2018, as I said, and that was my inspiration for, or my reason, I should say, for applying for the trek. Although not to cancer, it made me feel that I really wanted to do something to try and prevent others from losing members of their family. And what an opportunity it was, because I met such a great bunch of women. We're all still in touch a month on, and we're planning a reunion in the early new year. And these people have been through so much, and they're just such, I'm so honoured to have met them and be friends with them and be part of their journey. And just a fantastic experience. I would not hesitate to do it again once I'd got home and had a shower and a decent night's sleep. You do start to miss the bare bones of camping life. So I'm very much looking forward to the reunion, but hopefully that's not going to be in a tent.
So Ellie, what are you taking from the trek this week?
I am taking away a newfound respect for my body. I'm one of the trekkers that haven't had cancer, but I've lost somebody to cancer, and I haven't trusted my body before, I think. And so I spent the entire prep time thinking, I'll do 1 or 2 days, and then I think my head will get the better of me and I won't be able to do it. But I've been really impressed with my body, and I spent a lot of time before this trek slating my body for being too fat or too wobbly, or my boobs are too big, my bum's too big, and my thighs are too thick, and all of this. And I think this week I've just, I don't know, I got ready this morning and I just didn't feel that. So I think it's just a respect for my body, which I'm really grateful for.
And I've noticed you drop into your body, because I imagine you as somebody that's very in your head, and I've just noticed you ground.
Very self-conscious, very judgmental of my body, because I've often felt like I'm the one letting it down. And I think this week I've learned that actually if I fuel it the right way, and I can do something like this, which is really challenging, but also been pretty bloody fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you. So Yogi, what are you taking from this week?
Well, I've taken from this week, I never realised how strong I actually was until coming on this trek. It's been physically, mentally and emotionally draining. But I think the thing I'll take away most from this trip is turning negatives into a positive and having a more positive outlook on life. Things can be really bad, but you need to look for the positives and live for those.
It's interesting, because I would have had you down as quite a positive person anyway.
I am. This is interesting. I am a positive person.
So what's slightly different about what you've taken away in terms of that positivity this week?
I feel like I'm really positive, but I feel like I can be quite moany sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
And I can quite moan about a few things, when actually I'm very lucky to be moaning about those things.
Yeah.
And I've taken away from talking to some of the ladies here that actually what I'm moaning about, maybe some people would love to have those things to moan about, or so that's just made me think twice.
Yeah.
About those things. But I definitely am
a fun, I love life.
Yeah.
And I want to live life at all extremes and live my best life. But this has just made me want to do it even more.
And was that the reason you came on this?
I came on this mainly to raise awareness and to also push myself to do a challenge and to work on me. So I feel like taking away what I'm taking away is even better.
Amazing. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So I'm with Di, who's also known as Polly Pocket. So what have you taken from this week?
So what I would say that we were speaking about earlier is it's easy to form an opinion of people through the group chat that we had before we came on the trek, and that you can form an opinion that's completely unreal. And there's lots of people in this trek that I have thought I wouldn't bond with just due to their personality on text and the way they portray themselves, and they've been the complete opposite. So what I would say is, if you're going to go on another trek and there is an opportunity for a group chat beforehand, whilst it's good to get to know people, it's also good to not form an opinion on what they're actually like, because I would say 99 times out of 100 you're going to be wrong.
And that's interesting, because I suppose we've had the luxury of whether we thought we'd get on with those people or not, we're together, so you kind of get to know them. So I suppose that's a great metaphor in life, that you might not open up conversations or relationships with people because there's a preconception, and you might be missing out on something that's quite special.
Exactly, and there's probably people who I thought that I wouldn't go to speak.
Yeah.
Not because I didn't like them, but just because I thought they weren't really that open to huge conversation, because they were very ABC or very quiet.
Yeah.
And they have been the complete opposite, and I would have missed out on such good chat and such backup that I would really have left not disappointed, because I wouldn't have known, but I'm definitely richer for that opportunity to speak to those people.
I love that. And of course, yesterday on our big trek, you broke your finger and chipped your elbow. What have you learnt from that experience?
Absolutely nothing. It'll probably happen again the next time. Because of my brain jet.
And this is trek number
5.
So you've done where before?
Kilimanjaro. Then we did the Great Wall of China. Then we did Machu Picchu. Then we did the Sahara. And then the opportunity came to do this one, which we applied for because all the rest have been self-funded, and was lucky enough to be chosen to be part of this amazing group.
And what made you join the CoppaFeel one? Because you've got a story behind this, haven't you?
So, my eldest daughter was diagnosed at the age of 31 with grade 1 breast cancer, which quickly progressed to grade 3/4. She's right in the middle of radiotherapy treatment, so today is quite a hard day because I can't touch base with home just to see that everything's okay. And I had a funny dream about my dad last night, and it's one of those ones where I really want to touch base with home to make sure that everything's just okay, because he's going through some health problems too. But yeah, so basically help raise awareness with young people, young men, young women, and not just for breast cancer. You know, like if you feel something's not quite right with your body, then pursue it, because I'm a great believer if something doesn't feel right, then chances are it's not right. There's something there that you know your body. Nobody else knows it, so definitely push the doctor, push the dentist, push the optician, push whoever it is that you feel you need to see. Push your partner if it's something in your relationship. Push your siblings if it's, you fell out with your sister, or, if your kids aren't doing something that you feel right with, then definitely get to the core of it, because you only get one chance.
Oh, that's beautiful, Di. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm just walking with Amanda, and Amanda, is this your 4th or 5th trek?
This is my 5th trek.
So like Di, you've done Himalayas, Great Wall of China,
Kilimanjaro, Great Wall of China, Sahara, Machu Picchu.
and so now CoppaFeel Highlands.
Yes.
So in the UK.
In the UK.
So I'm intrigued. What have you taken from this trek, given that this is trek number 5?
So this trek was done for Di. It's Di's backyard. So Diane's daughter got diagnosed, and knowing the person that Di is from the other treks, I just wanted to help her to kind of process what was going on and help in a way that wouldn't involve her having to tackle the issues of her daughter's anger and resentment of the disease and it impact negatively on their relationship. So I suggested this walk. What I've taken from it is just how people tick, how I'm watching people, seeing people in the mix, then seeing people step back from the mix, or you've got the kind of person that can be up there all the time, never burning out, never stopping, never relenting. And then you've got those that are there at the beginning, and then at the end, like today, last day 5, you're beginning to see people at the back going for a little bit of quiet, like myself.
So it's that human behaviour thing.
Yes, I like to people watch. I like to human nature, and to see how one situation can affect 28 women differently.
Yeah.
And I also like to see the way the guides on this are different to the way the guides were on the other 4. On the other 4, I wouldn't say they're regimental, but I'd say that they are more, not harsher, but they follow their rules more. I would say on this we've lost a few rules.
We've gone off piste.
We've gone off piste. But the trek is totally different, and that's the thing about these treks, they are all totally different. And how my treks have been to me, although I've done the same treks as Di, they don't compare.
Yeah, they're your own personal journey on each.
So my favourite is Kilimanjaro, where Diane's favourite is the Sahara.
Yeah.
Interestingly. But it's all it's human nature, isn't it? And how people, I mean, I have loads of time on my own, but busy working mums that have come from illness or come from watching somebody be ill. This is their this is their pub on a Friday night.
Yeah.
When you get the mums down the pub on a Friday night and they let their hair down. For people that have been juggling an illness, juggling work, juggling homeschooling, this is their
release.
Their release.
Yeah.
Kind of like, it's not your holiday in Ibiza.
No, but it's a different type of rest, isn't it? I was talking to somebody earlier saying there are 7 different types of rest. And while we've not had any physical rest, really, we've had like sensory rest of not having emails or our phones because there's no signal. The washing pile's not looking at us, or we haven't got to think about what to cook, and that actually has been really liberating.
Yeah, pop into the shop for milk.
Yeah, you can't. There's no shops.
No.
Yeah.
We haven't had to think what we're going to have for tea. Our tea has been made for us, and for a woman,
that's huge, isn't it?
To have your tea made, and they're doing the washing up.
Yeah.
And at the minute, we're not appreciating that.
Yeah.
We're putting our cutlery in our plates.
Oh, I'm so appreciating that. Oh my God, I've not every day. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah.
But I wonder how many aren't actually.
Yeah. We begin to take it for granted on day 5. Yeah.
And like each morning, I've bought her coffee. I mean, she does get a coffee at home, but I don't get a drink in the morning at home kind of thing. You kind of like up and you go, don't you?
Yeah.
But just to wake up and think,
yeah,
you've not got a little face
Yeah.
How'd you do this? Or the email pinging.
Yeah.
Or the husband saying, have you answered this for school?
Yeah.
And green.
Yeah.
Green is good, isn't it? For
being in nature. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you will, when you get home, you'll feel kind of like it's a bit like grief when you get home.
So the kind of post-trek, what is it, like a come down and readjustment?
And if you nobody else has done it, so they won't get why you're on the high of what you're on.
Yeah.
Because they've not, it's like when you got to the top of the Kilimanjaro, we got there and then 2 days later you're back in England and you're either sat at the desk or you're cooking the kids' tea and you've just, scaled one of the tallest freestanding mountain
in the world. So what advice have you got for post-trek then to not get dragged back into the relentlessness of life? Is there any tips or are you still learning that one?
Still learning that one, yeah. You will feel it, I'll feel it. You will feel a sense. I suppose we've got the WhatsApp group, so people will still continue to talk and share photographs and do you remember when? So it will kind of like live on in a fashion. But yeah, post-trek is traumatic.
Okay.
It is something.
Post-traumatic trek syndrome. Oh, wow. Yes. I have to reflect on that one, but thank you for sharing. Thank you. So, Maxine, I'm intrigued. What are you taking from this week of trekking?
I'm taking camaraderie. So I feel very humbled by many of the ladies' experiences, what they've gone through in their lives, and just hearing them talking to each other, being able to share their experience with their own age group as well, because lots of them are in their 30s and they've gone through cancer, chemo, with lots of older ladies that have had different experiences. It's been nice to see that going on. Personally, just very grounding, very, very humbling, and being outdoors I just simply adore. And it's just been, everybody's been looking after each other. No one's been rushing off. There's been no egos. In fact, that's probably what I take from this as well. Very low egos, which I always adore. Yeah, and you're always all about empowering women. Yes. And I suppose women can often be seen to be either comparing or competing, so having that like collaboration instead. Yeah, and there's been none of that going on. Everybody's just come together and it's been really, really nice. And I think having that, a very sad shared experience, of course, but it's kind of, it's a different vibe, which is just very humbling, and I've really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Maxine.
Hi, I'm Lottie, and what I'm taking away from our CoppaFeel trek experience is that I'm not alone on my journey in life. I met some incredibly strong women, all with different stories, and in the space of 6 days taught me that you can achieve anything you want as long as you have determination and perseverance. I applied for the trek because of my own experience with breast cancer. I was diagnosed in September 2019 when I was 25. I was frightened, naive, and shocked. I found a lump which my GP told me was nothing to worry about. I was young, this was normal, it was just my hormones. This didn't reassure me. It was with thanks to CoppaFeel and their invaluable work that I found the confidence to be persistent with my GP. Sadly, cancer is prevalent in my family. I've subsequently been tested and I'm BRCA2 positive, as was my grandfather and auntie, who sadly lost their fight against this horrible disease. I inherited the gene from my father, who thankfully is never and will never have cancer. I was treated at the Royal Marsden Hospital. I had a bilateral skin-sparing mastectomy followed by 8 rounds of accelerated EC and paclitaxel chemotherapy. I also underwent IVF treatment and had eggs harvested prior to surgery. I had lost all my hair and a part of me before I turned 26. I knew instantly that I wanted to turn one of the greatest negatives life has to offer into a positive. It was an honour to be able to give back to the charity that saved my life. It was my aim to educate, empower, inspire, and most importantly, to ensure that, like mine, all breast cancers can be diagnosed as early as possible.
Hello, my name is Laura. There are so many things that I'll take from my CoppaFeel trek, not least of which are all of the amazing friendships I've made. So many inspiring women. The stories we've shared, I mean, we're bonded for life, and I'm so grateful for their friendship and their support. One of the girls in our group, Gemma, commented to me that just a little phrase, living in fear is not living at all. And I keep thinking about that almost on a daily basis ever since she said it to me. I have a BRCA1 gene mutation, and for so many years I lived in fear of developing cancer. It was such a heavy weight on my shoulders, and it was something I thought about every single day. And I was convinced, that was the future that I was going to have. I took preventative action and I had my surgery. And a lot of the weight has, of course, lifted from my shoulders now. And I no longer live in fear of developing breast and ovarian cancer, but there is still a small chance, and it's still something that I do think about. But when I find myself dwelling on anything negative or the what ifs, I just keep thinking about what Gemma told me, and remembering that, living in fear isn't living at all. We're here. I'm so grateful to be here, and the trek has taught me to be grateful for every day, because it's not guaranteed. I am one of the very, very lucky ones who has been given a chance before cancer took hold of me. I was very privileged to be able to take action, preventative action. So I will be holding that thought very dearly for the rest of my life. If anyone is thinking about applying for a CoppaFeel trek, I would say absolutely don't hesitate. Make that application, because it's not unreasonable to say that it has been life-changing in so many ways, and it's something I'm going to hold on to dearly for the rest of my life. And already I can't wait to get together with those 27 other members of Team Emma, ready for a celebration, hopefully in the new year.
Hello, I'm Shelley. I originally applied for the Scottish Highlands trek because I've been a volunteer boobette for CoppaFeel for the last 7 years now. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014 at the age of 33, and I wanted to use my story to raise awareness about the importance of regularly checking your boobs, knowing the signs and symptoms, and knowing what to do if you find something that isn't normal for you. Over the week that I've spent with these wonderful women, hiking and climbing and camping, I've realised how important this message is. And the main thing I'm going to be taking away from the trek is just the level of support and friendship and stories from these amazing people. And I hope we stay friends for a long, long time and keep in touch with everybody. I miss you all already so much. Thank you.
So, we're just walking with Ria. So what are you taking from this week of trekking?
So I think I'm taking quite a lot. One of them is courage and bravery, because walking with all these women has shown me that, you've got to be courageous to get through life, whatever it throws at you. It may not go to plan, but you've got to be brave and stick to the path you've got and go on with it. And then also teamwork really does make the dream work, which I've always said, but I think we've shown that it does, and you've got to be there to support one another. And also just don't judge people. Like, someone may be having a bad day, but you don't know what they've gone through, and it's very rarely them taking it out on you personally. So yeah, I think quite a lot, and that we can all do it. You know what, women are amazing. You think you can't do it, you can. And sometimes we've just got to think, okay, this is it, this is the challenge of the week, I'll do it, and forget about everything else that's happening at home and just crack on.
Love that.
Yeah, lots.
Thank you, Ria.
Thank you, Nick.
So it's the two Nickies. So Nikki's asking Nikki, what are you taking from this week of trekking?
Hi guys. So I think I'm loving seeing kindness. I think being here is making me realise that people are kind and doing stuff just to be kind. There's no ulterior motives. It's just support, helping, not getting anything out of it, and just being kind. And in the world that we live in, it's nice to see that. And I'm bloody strong, right? Yeah. We have done well. So we're stronger than we think, and try not to let the little things get to you, because in the bigger picture, there's a lot worse that we've seen that happens and what people are going through. So yeah, that's what I think I've taken from it.
And we're just crossing a cattle grid, so we're trying not to break our necks as we're doing this.
You hear a scream, it's me.
And I've loved seeing your and Yogi's relationship. So Nikki's come with her best friend Yogi, haven't you?
I'm glad we brought a few laughs.
And they're like a double act, and I absolutely love
And that's one thing, Yogi's moving soon to a different country, so being able to spend this time with her, it's just amazing. I'm so glad I had someone here with me. It's like a security blanket. And because we were a bit worried that we thought we'd kind of just cling together and that would be it. But it's been so lovely just having her there in the back.
Yeah.
That I know I've got her there if I ever need her. So yeah, it's been lovely.
Thank you, Nikki.
No worries.
I think that your fears are rarely as bad as reality.
Yeah.
So I think I thought I was really calm about the whole thing.
Yeah, me too.
And then in the last couple of weeks, just as the tension mounting, everyone thinking about things, overthinking everything several times over, I really started to be very nervous about literally every aspect of it.
Yeah, because you were like me, you packed and repacked your bags, didn't you?
Yes, yeah. So not being away from home, that doesn't bother me. That's not my thing. I know other people have challenges there, but just physically, would I be able to do the walks? Camping, I really hate camping.
Yeah, me too.
Sharing such close, intimate, personal space with someone who's a total stranger.
Yeah.
I'm really worried about that. And actually, and actually after 18 months of lockdown and barely seeing anyone, really worried about whether I still had any social skills to mingle with so many people and be around so many people for such an amount of time. So those were the things that really troubled me. But everything has been dispelled, and actually everything was dispelled really quickly. It just seemed to, as soon as we got here, actually, it all seemed to be okay.
Yeah, really quickly. Yeah.
So I feel very lucky with every aspect of it, really. I feel lucky about my body, everything stays strong. I feel lucky with my equipment. I haven't had issues with my boots. I feel lucky with my tent mate. I feel lucky about the group we've got here, who are just all such lovely, amazing women. I feel very humbled by the experience.
And have you, because I know when we spoke at the start, you were like, I'm never not on email. So even when I'm on holiday, I'll still pick up email.
I'll do a couple of hours work every day.
And how have you found not being able to do that?
Good. Yes, it has been liberating, and I had to stop myself the other day, but actually it didn't take me too long to kind of go, no, I'm just not going to click on that and check. It will wait. I've told my team, so they need to know that when I say something, that's what I'll do. So it's been good. What I don't know is, will I have that fear rising on Saturday when I start to see everything come through? But
yeah,
I'm going to try really hard to manage that, because I don't want to undo, all the good of this week.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And also, the things I'm worried about are I know everything will have been handled fine. Actually, my biggest fear is imposter syndrome. It's that I will have been found out this week.
Everything can run without you.
Well, I don't think I'm bothered that things can run without me. It's more, well, they find out that actually I can't do the job very well.
Oh, isn't that interesting? So many people can relate to that.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing that has me always checking, is I'll just keep an eye on things. So if I see something going slightly awry, and it might be something that I've done, haven't done, or did a different way to somebody else, I can kind of intervene and give a perspective. And so I haven't done any of that. So,
I'd be fascinated to hear how you feel a week in about that.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that will be the most interesting. But as I say, I'm determined to approach it the right way, because I mean, after hearing some people's stories here, like, really, what am I worried about? Really? And if I came out of the job tomorrow, what does it really matter? Got my health so far, who knows what's around the corner.
Yep.
Family, we're set up, we would manage. Like, really, what am I worrying about? So
yeah, it's putting that fear into its rightful place of thanks, but I don't need it.
Yeah. What about you?
What am I taking?
Yeah.
Oh, lots. Gosh, where do I start? I think very much like you, it's taught me that this felt so outside my comfort zone on every level. The camping, the hiking, would my body be able to be up to it? Sharing with strangers.
Yeah.
Just the, how many midges would there be? Would it be wet? How would I cope with mud? Just on every level. Is there a shower? Where am I going to have a poo? Where am I going to have a wee? Oh my God. I literally, the week leading up to this trek, it's the most anxious I've ever been in my life. I don't suffer with anxiety, thankfully.
Yes.
But I was like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yes. So many aspects to it, different aspects to it that were just so different to our day-to-day lives.
Yeah. And I know logically and like with my work that every time you push yourself out your comfort zone, you stretch and that becomes your new comfort zone and it feeds your self-esteem. So I knew that on a logical level, this would be so good. But the actual doing is another thing.
Yeah.
So that, I think, my body at times, because I've suffered with my health, and not obviously I've been so lucky not to have suffered like some of the women here, but I've suffered with adrenal fatigue and my energy.
Oh, really?
I didn't know if energetically I'd have enough to do the consecutive days of like grueling walking.
Yes.
So it's taught me that my body's stronger than I perhaps tell myself sometimes I am.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest things have been around, listening to so many people's stories.
I know. It's so humbling
humbling, heartbreaking.
It sounds trite, but it really is the only word for it, isn't it?
Yeah. And then I think the other thing that I'm taking from it is so many of them have had to push for a diagnosis.
Yes.
That advocating for your own body.
Yeah.
And empowering yourself to say, no, I'm not happy. I want further tests, and to not feel that you're wasting somebody's time or wasting NHS money. Because if it's, that early detection is so vital.
Yeah.
The reminder that, I know to check myself, but do I do it regularly?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
I hope. One of the things I'm taking away from it is I bloody will, but I hope I remember that.
Yes.
I think the CoppaFeel text checks will really help.
Yes.
So when I get that through, it's not going to be like yes, I should. It's like, no, I'm going to do that now.
Yeah.
And encouraging people I know and my loved ones to do the same.
Yes.
What else am I taking from it? Just, the little things in life actually make you happy.
Yeah.
And just trying to clear as much of the noise out of my life to just focus on, it's the simple things that really matter.
Yes.
And trying to, because we've had this opportunity to press pause and reset almost.
Yeah.
So when we go back to the, the treadmill of life.
Or do we for more thought?
Trying to be more conscious,
Yeah.
And I know that Giovanna said that actually what she loves about doing these regular treks is she has that intention, but then life takes over and she gets a regular reset by doing them.
Yes.
So I imagine that we're going to lose a lot of that essence, but trying to keep as much of it as possible.
Yeah. Would you do one of these again?
Do you know what? I think I would. Might be a few years' time.
Yeah.
But I think I would. Because the other thing that I've loved about this is actually, probably like you, I used to work in a very male-dominated environment.
Yeah.
So I'm used to actually being around a lot more men. And one of the reasons I started Wisdom for Working Mums was I wanted more of that kind of female kind of empowerment around me. And really having that actually there's a group of women that have come together that haven't tried to compete, haven't done comparison, have just, I suppose, collaborated to get...
What can we share? How can we help?
And I've loved that.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots. Thank you for sharing, Sam. So I'm just here with Ro. And I'm wondering, Ro, what are you taking away from this week? If there was one thing from this trek that you've learned about yourself or life, what would that be?
Well, for one, I need a little Nikki in my life because you're a ray of sunshine.
Oh, bless you. Right back at you.
Yeah, just don't believe what people tell you when they tell you can't do anything, because your body and your mind are capable of incredible things.
And I think you've got a very unique perspective on that. So for somebody listening that doesn't know you and your story, do you mind sharing a little bit?
Of course not. So I was diagnosed when I was 32 with breast cancer, pregnant with my first child. And then Ivy came into the world early, so they could start chemo and give me the mastectomy. And I managed...
we might just pause a second as we work over a cattle grid and not break our legs. Yeah.
I managed to get into remission and had 2 blissful years of being cancer-free. And then I recurred in 2018 and was told then it was incurable and that I could aim for around 3 years, which was obviously, you know, the worst hell that you can imagine, especially for me as a parent, because I feel like when you have a child, they are your life now, you know, they're yours, and your life is their life, because if you go anywhere, you're ruining their life too. So it was incredibly horrible, and, you know, they asked me things like, do you want any help making a will? So it literally felt like I had absolutely no hope, and yet here I am, about to celebrate 3 years of clear scans. Woo! Woo! And walking mountains every day this week.
So when you say you can do incredible things, you absolutely can.
Absolutely can. You can do whatever people tell you that you can't. You'll find a way if you want it enough. I know a lot of the time that can't be true for some people that unfortunately do have it worse off, but I always think my thing is always have hope. Don't believe what they tell you can't do. Keep hold of that hope.
So you knew you got strength before you came into this week. What's this week taught you about your strength or about your personality that you didn't know already?
Probably that I'm a really good listener. I kind of knew that anyway, but, you know, I do enjoy. I love to hear other people's stories and can kind of reflect on other people's experiences and take it in that, you know, other people have got it bad. We're all having a little battle of our own, aren't we? In any which form.
And I love that about you, Ro, because you've obviously got quite a powerful story that could quite rightly overshadow other people's, and you're so humble. You play it down.
Oh, thank you.
And I will post alongside this podcast a link of your daughter Ivy in her video, because it is genuinely one of the most beautiful things that I've heard. But for anybody listening that kind of goes, oh my God, that story sounds like heartbreaking but humbling, what was the sign for you around detecting your breast cancer in the first place?
I was doing checks to make sure I didn't get stretch marks in my breasts when I was pregnant with body butter, and then found the lump and thought it was a blocked milk duct at first. Didn't panic too much at all. I thought I'll monitor it for a couple of weeks, and it didn't go, so I went to the GP, didn't think anything of it, and then it was literally about 7 days I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then 2 weeks later mastectomy, and then 2 weeks later Ivy came, 6 days later the mastectomy, 3 weeks later the chemo. It was full on, it was intense, which, you know, I didn't really get to have my maternity leave or anything, and that was heartbreaking at the time. It was really, really, really tough, because we tried for Ivy for a long time, and you know, you imagine those walks around the park and you feel a little bit bitter about other people having it so easy, but actually other people definitely don't. Everyone's carrying something, aren't they?
Yeah,
they
you've been on a particularly powerful experience, and you've really fought along the way for kind of control and power over your journey, haven't you?
And that's something I tell everyone now. Nobody loves you or wants to live more than you do yourself. Wants yourself to live more than you do. And so you have to be your own advocate. You have to tell the doctors when something isn't right. You know something isn't right, and they might not have the means or the patience for you, but you have to push and push and push. Ask them, are you 100% certain that there's nothing wrong with me? And they won't be able to say yes, so push for that test or whatever it is that you feel that you need.
Because you were also told you wanted to adopt another child, right?
Yeah.
And you were told you couldn't.
I was copied into a letter from my previous oncologist, telling me that I understand adoption is no longer an option anymore, and he'd referred me for palliative care and everything, and I hadn't even had that conversation with anyone, and it was absolutely destroying, you know, when you've worked so hard to get out of the hell that you've been in, you know, and you want so much for the family that you've dreamed of, and they take it away. You know, we'd just been approved, we were ready to be matched with a child, and then it's kind of snatched away from you. So that was horrible, you know, incredibly tough, because it just kind of felt like all hope was gone and everyone had given up on me and there was no chance for any future.
But you didn't let that stop you there. So what did you do?
I advocated for myself.
I love that. And what did that mean? What did you do?
I wasn't happy with my treatment plan. I'd researched how other people were treated with my particular stage and type of cancer, and I knew I needed a lot more than what my current oncologist was giving me, which was minimum. They were kind of trying to hold the chemo back to reserve for when it came back, kind of thing. But I just wanted them to go at it, full force. Yeah. So I did. I got a second opinion at the Christie Hospital and told them what I'd read about, and they agreed with me. Yep, we think that could help. We're going to be as aggressive as we can with this and do what we can for you. And I responded brilliantly. I pushed for surgery, which they said wouldn't help. There was no point. I would be in intensive care. And I wasn't in intensive care. I was absolutely fine after well, I wasn't fine, but you know.
Relatively, yeah.
And then I got a new oncologist and asked him for a little bit of hope, and he said, you don't have a little bit, you've got a lot.
When you told me that, it still gives me goosebumps.
I know. I wanted to hug his leg for a whole hour when he told me that. And then he wrote the letter after lots of different tests and things and discussions with other team members. They thought that I've done so well to get no evidence of disease that with chemo maintenance forever, which I'm on now daily, they think that I can hopefully keep this cancer away. So
amazing.
They wrote me a letter, and we brought home our little boy in 2020, in March 2020. So
you completed your family, and I love how you've rewritten your story. You're like, no, you don't define my story. Yeah. I get to write
Absolutely.
it.
Yeah, you're your own character. You've got to play the part with all your heart.
I love that, and it's your story in particular that has really inspired me this week.
Thanks, Nikki.
You know, just really reminds you what this whole experience is about.
Yeah.
Not just raising the awareness of breast cancer and early detection and what CoppaFeel are all about, but just the whole point of like, this is what life's about.
Yeah.
It's about what's really important.
Absolutely.
And you taking control to focus on that.
Definitely. And that's it. I think when you've been to the worst place on earth in terms of mental hell, nothing else is as much as a challenge as that, as getting you out of that. So you kind of take everything else and just soak it all up and really, really, really feel it and enjoy it and love it. I love being alive.
And I really get that sense in you. And it's just gutting that for so many of us, we have to hit some kind of brick wall to get that realisation. And that's why I'm just like, I love being around you because you teach me that, and and I'm sorry you've gone through your experience. I don't want to piggyback off it, but like, it just, your infectious love of life.
Thank you.
Honestly, I just love being around you. So,
it's lovely.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
So I'm just with Helen, one of my fellow trekkers. And what have you taken from this week? If there was like one thing you're walking away from this experience with, what would that be?
So that you can do anything really, that your body will just carry on regardless of what you're going through, that you can just do it. And more for me, it's the group of people that you're with. So I'm generally quite a shy person, so I find it quite difficult kind of mingling with a lot of people, but you just do it, just get on with it, and that's it really. It's just that your body will overcome it, you will do it and smash it really.
Because we've all said, haven't we, the back-to-back walking, we were like, oh God, we don't think we can do it. And the guides had said to us, day 4, your body just knows. And we all went, no, that's not going to happen to me. And then we did all say, because we had our big walk yesterday, day 4. And how did you find that?
All right, the last bit was quite tough, but I said to the girls earlier on, I think that was more because we weren't as a team, we were quite split. So I think I felt a little bit like, I feel a little bit deflated for this because we're not all here. So when we were all there at the end, I think that's why I got emotional.
So there's a big lesson in there, isn't there, about how actually it is all about the team and not about the actual goal.
About 4 hours a day, just to get used to having something.
Brilliant. Thank you, Helen.
Oh, you're welcome.
Next up, we have my teammate and my tent mate, because I got to spend 6 nights in a tent with the lovely Bobby.
The one thing to take from the Scottish Highlands Trek 2021. Well, I think it's hard to pick out one defining moment. I mean, the whole experience was a combination of many little things and 3 rather large Munros, mountains. Our charity challenge leaders encouraged us by explaining to get up a mountain, put one foot in front of the other. Take your time, enjoy it. I mean, it sounds easy, and I definitely underestimated the strength, both physically and mentally, it would take to keep going. I used to be pretty fit, and it still takes me by surprise how affected my body has been from having breast cancer and all the treatment that goes with that. It takes its toll, and I forget that sometimes. I was diagnosed 5 years ago, and I've been in pretty much denial that I'd had it. I mean, I barely told anyone at the time, and it wasn't that I was embarrassed or I didn't want people to know. It was more about I didn't want it to be real, I guess. But it was, and sometimes I suppose you just got to own it. And I ignored a lump for 6 months, and my outcome could have been a whole lot worse. I wanted to do the trek to encourage women to check themselves and know they're normal, and have the courage to seek out help when things don't seem right. I wasn't alone in wanting to get this message across. There were 100 women, all with a story to tell and all with a common interest in wanting to empower other women and men to be brave and step forward when you know that something's just not right. Before I left for the trek, I was talking to my friend, and she said, you know, everyone is going to be lovely, right? Because shitty people don't do things like this. Well, she was right. When what you are doing is for a greater good, and you put your ego aside and you believe you're making a difference, you literally can climb a mountain. And I couldn't have wished for a better bunch to do it with. I've made friends throughout life, and I would do it again tomorrow. And I guess what we've all just been doing it for is to just tell people to check the boobs. And if it saves a life, then wow, amazing. That's all any of us really wanted out of this. And, you know, that's all we can hope for, is that people will be brave and step forward. So yeah, that's probably the one thing. Is it a one thing? Or...
So I guess the thing that I would most take away from this week would be the fact of, you know, kind of just being in the moment. We spend so much time on our phones and doing life that we don't take the time to just sit there and take it all in. Here in the middle of the Scottish Highlands, there's no signal, there's no Wi-Fi, apart from the occasional, you know, trip to the pub or, oh, there's a bit of Wi-Fi and everything pings. But you take in life, and there's all these amazing people with all these inspiring stories that are completely different to me, similar to many, I guess. And I guess what I take away is that actually so many people have gone through so many different things. And sometimes you can think, oh God, like I'm a bit of a fraud for being here, that I haven't been through that. But actually we're all on our own different journeys. We've all come so far, just even in these 5 days, and also like through all the years that maybe people have been going through treatment, and what they've learned about themselves and others as well, and how they're battling this and battling many other things in their lives, and they're battling it head on, like with a smile on their face. And the fact that we never thought that we'd be able to do these things, and through injuries and through everything, people have made it, and we've all got each other, and we've all rallied around, no matter what team we've been in, that we've rallied around and got each other up these hills and mountains, and it's absolutely amazing. And it's just kind of showing you how much we can do, but also I hope that we'll be able to take this into further life and kind of, you know, react differently, reflect on things differently, and kind of do life differently. So that's what I've taken away.
So I'm here with my fellow Team Emma teammate, Zoe, and tell me, Zoe, what is it that you're going to take from this week of trekking?
Apart from lots of tears, my biggest thing is just clarity and believing in myself.
And we've had lots of tears, so we've had a big night.
Being newly 2.5 years sober, like, and being accepted by all these women, it's really shown me that, you know, I'm liked for me and who I am, and that's, yeah, it's just nice to take that away, and friends for life.
and it's been amazing to watch you, actually. Because you blossomed this week, and I don't know if that's just because you're like more comfortable with people.
Yeah, I'm always scared to tell my story because of the sobriety side of it.
And what scares you about that?
I feel like people will judge me because people think recovering alcoholics, and you have like an image of them, and then you look at me and you think I don't look like a normal alcoholic. So I'm always shy, and I'm always like quite reserved.
She doesn't, because she's bloody beautiful, stunning, shining, like you are the picture of health. But like, you just own you, and I love that.
And being vegan and being like, I'm like very different to a lot of women here in like lifestyle choices, and I didn't think I'd fit in, and everyone has accepted me with open arms, and I've loved every single moment of it.
And I've loved watching that actually, because it's almost like I imagine that there's shame attached to your story.
100%.
And there's absolutely no shame. If anything, it's absolutely an inspiration for everybody else. So it's almost like you own that story because actually you're going to inspire so many others.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely made me want to talk about it more, and it's made me proud of where I am and my journey that I'm going on, because it will always be a journey, as it will with all these women. So yeah, well, thank you.
Just here with Hannah, one of my Team Emma track mates. So what have you taken from this week? If there was just one thing that you've taken away from this experience, what would it be?
I think the main thing that I'm taking is that no matter what we face in life, there's a way to live really well. So I've met some incredible women who have taught me lots of things, but that no matter what life has thrown at them, they've fought really hard, and it hasn't been easy. They have had to be really intentional and really they've had to work really hard to live life well, but not just well, but then be a kind of light for others on that journey. And I've had a lot of loss in my life, and I could sit down and wallow forever. And it's reminded me to live. Like, I'm not personally facing immediate death that I know of. And some of these women have been told that they are, but they're choosing to live even with that knowledge. And that's something I'll never forget.
And next up, we have my teammate Sienna from Team Emma.
So I decided to do the CoppaFeel Scottish Highland trek after being diagnosed at 31 with stage 3 breast cancer, which had spread to all of my lymph nodes and my blood vessels. After basically being told for months and months and months that it wasn't cancer and it was all in my head because I was too young. I was 30 when I first found my lump. So after a lot of having to advocate and push for basically to be diagnosed with breast cancer, I wanted to try and raise as much awareness into young breast cancer as possible. So basically when I done the CoppaFeel trek, the one thing I am taking from the CoppaFeel trek is that I am more resilient than I first thought I was. I psyched myself out on day 3 with injuries and, stuff from my treatment coming back to kind of haunt me. I basically gave up, and I had to dig deep and I had to break through the wall. And I learned that, not only that, I learned I don't have to put on such a tough cookie shell for people. That it's actually okay to be vulnerable and to let people in and to see that side of you, because without it, no one will really truly know how hard your struggle and your fight has had to be. So that is what I have taken from my CoppaFeel trek, is that I am strong, I am powerful, and most of all, there's no need to be ashamed to basically let your guard down and show people who you truly are.
So, just here with Emma Willis. Hi. Hi. So, Emma, what are your reflections from this week? If there was just one thing, it might be more than one, but that you're taking away from this CoppaFeel trek? What would that be?
I think it comes down to strength, and the strength of just watching like all these women that we're like literally at the minute walking with.
Yeah, we're walking and talking. Yeah,
and what they've gone through and are still going through, and they're living with daily. That at a time when you're probably perceived to be at your weakest because of illness, you actually find the most strength.
Yeah.
So every time I want to say, my feet are hurting, I literally catch myself and I'm like, nah, not a chance. And am I going to moan or complain? Because, you know, watching them is just... It's phenomenal, actually. I could cry. I'm going to start crying. Sorry. It just blows me away. It's incredibly humbling. But strength. All I see around me is strength.
Yeah. And I found the ones that have had probably the most difficult journey, and I know it's difficult to measure that, or even you don't want to put it in those terms, and the ones that have got the most joy for life, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you know, there are various stages here, aren't there? And the ones that are critical, that's the most amount of strength, I think. Like you say, you can't really measure it, but it's you look at those women and you just go like, we just have to keep going with this. We have to keep screaming and shouting about it. We have to march on with them every step of the way.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I went really brummy then.
We can do our way. Right. We did say we put our posh voices into this, but I think it's, as somebody that's got a lot of breast cancer in my family, I know about checking. Yeah. But I think hearing their stories has made me go, no, that's not just something I should do. It's something I'm bloody gonna do.
Do you know what else I've learned? I think the biggest thing I'll take away from this, obviously, is the strength, because I'm walking alongside it and talking to these women and seeing it every single day. But the education that I've got this week is beyond anything I've learnt. I didn't know the difference between chemo and radiotherapy. Yeah. I've learnt about that. I didn't know about
triple negative, and
I didn't know about the various stages. I didn't know anything really about the gene.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much, and there are so many different stages and treatments, and what everything means, you know.
Yeah. But I think one of the things I've also taken from it is that each one of them has really had to push to be listened to, to taken seriously, to not be dismissed, to get the treatment they need and they want.
Yeah. And, you know, because at various points, isn't it? It's like, well, actually, it might not be anything. But even if it's possibly something, do something about it.
Yeah.
Get it checked. So many of the girls that we're with are so young.
Yeah.
So young.
When I think the youngest...
Where that is dismissive. Yeah. Still, even in this day and age where there's so much awareness that breast cancer can happen to any age and any gender.
Yeah.
It can be dismissed, and, you know, that has to change.
And that's why I think like what you and G and Gemma and Candice and Selassie, you know, giving up your time, because you're all busy people, and I know everybody's busy, but, you know, you don't have to do this. The awareness.
And like you say, everybody's busy, but no one's too busy for this.
Yeah.
I don't think. Like, this could happen to any of us.
Yeah.
And education is key. And that's what we're doing, isn't it? Trying to help in any small way possible.
Yeah.
To raise awareness, spread education to, you know, people as young as we possibly can that will understand, to get checked. Just get checked. Check yourself, go to the doctor, like...
Check your chest. And we've also learnt to check for ticks as well, haven't we?
Yeah. I had a tick.
Where?
I had a little tick.
Where? Do we want to know or not?
No, it was not an embarrassing place. Just on my arm here. I didn't know. It's really hard, because it could have just been a little, like, scab where I'd knocked myself. So I went to one of our team leaders and
had it removed.
Well, it was so small. I was expecting him to get the old tool out and do the old pull and twist, and he just literally knocked it off like it was a scab.
So
I was like, what? He said, oh, it's a tiny baby one, so that's not going to have burrowed.
Good. So
it was
check
gone.
your tits and check your ticks.
Exactly. That's been the motto of our
Yeah.
trek, hasn't it?
Thank you for
Every
being...
picture that you see, by the way, anybody listening, of all of us together, we are all shouting, ticks and tits.
Yeah.
Tits and ticks, sorry. It's a real tongue twister.
It is. Thank you for being a bloody brilliant team lead as well.
Oh,
so thanks,
thanks. I've loved it.
Thank you, Emma.
I've got the best team.
Yeah.
Everywhere we go, people wanna know. People wanna know who we are.
I hope you enjoyed that insight into our week in the Scottish Highlands on the CoppaFeel trek with Team Emma. And I know I'm biased because they're my teammates, but they're amazing women, aren't they? Oh my gosh. Hopefully you've found it kind of life affirming like I did, and hearing their stories I found kind of humbling, heartwarming, but also heartbreaking. And I just hope you're taking from it feeling empowered like we all did, that we're stronger than we believe we are physically and mentally, that kind of the respect we should have for our bodies about what they can do. And actually what a group of women can achieve when they come together, which really is what Wisdom for Working Mums is all about. But the important message from this is to really check your body, know you're normal. And if you find something that you're not happy with, to go and seek medical advice. And if you're not happy with that advice, to get a second opinion, because, you know, CoppaFeel is all about making sure that we're kind of knowing our normal, and if we find something that we're kind of getting some early detection of what could be potentially a problem. Thank you for listening, and thank you to all of my teammates for joining me on this podcast. What a special one it was. Thanks, guys. If you've enjoyed this episode of Wisdom for Working Mums, please share it on social media and with your friends and family. I'd love to connect with you too, so if you head over to wisdomforworkingmums.co.uk, you'll find a link on how to do this. And if you love the show and really want to support it, please go to iTunes, write a review and subscribe. You'll be helping another working mum find this resource too. Thanks so much for listening.